Hello children. In this video we are going to discuss and learn about the poem My Shadow. This poem is written by Robert Louis Stevenson. He was a novelist, a poet and a travel writer. My Shadow is written keeping in mind the child. The child considers the shadow to be another boy, as he refers to the shadow as he. The child observes his shadow closely and is confused about how different he is from other children. He is very alert of his surrounding and loves nature. The child finds happiness in the company of his shadow and shows the innocence of the child. Now, let's read this poem, My Shadow. I have a little shadow that goes in and out with me, and what is the use of him is more than I can see. He is very, very like me, from heels up to the head, and he jumps before me when I jump into the bed. The funniest thing about him is the way he likes to grow, not at all like proper children, which is always very slow. For he sometimes shoots up taller like an India rubber ball, and he sometimes gets so little there's none of him at all. One morning, very early, before the sun, I was up. I rose and found the shining dew on every buttercup. But my lazy little shadow, like an arrant sleepyhead, had stayed at home behind me and was fast asleep in bed. Before we further discuss the poem, I would like to make you familiar with some new words in this poem. India rubber ball. It is a ball that can bounce very high. Buttercup. It is a yellow flower. Arrant, absolutely or completely. Arrant sleepyhead. Completely inattentive. Dew. Tiny drops of water that forms on cool surfaces at night. Heels up to the head, upside down. Shadow. It is the dark shape made when something blocks the source of light. Elements of the poem My Shadow. Mood. Feelings the poet is trying to convey. We can see the feelings change across the three stanzas, like joy and excitement in first, confusion and surprise in second, and disappointment in third. The theme of the poem is curiosity and excitement of a child on seeing his shadow. Rhythm and rhyme. There is a definite rhyming scheme in the poem. We are going to deal with it later in the session. Stanzas. Stanzas are group of lines. There are 3 stanzas in our poem. Lines. Words in a single row. There are 8 lines in each stanza of the poem My Shadow. Now, coming to the first stanza. Let's read and understand this stanza. I have a little shadow that goes in and out with me, and what is the use of him is more than I can see. He is very, very like me, from heels up to the head, and he jumps before me when I jump into the bed. In the first stanza, the poet is talking about the boy and how the little boy is fascinated with his own shadow and enjoys to observe it. This shadow is always present with him when he is going in and out in the sun. The boy says That is, it is just like him from heels up to the head. Here the poet uses heels to the head to show that the boy is curious and fascinated how the shadow and he are connected to each other from heels upward. The child is excited to see how he moves ahead of him all the time, how he jumps before him. He can jump into the bed. This puzzles the child, yet he is excited to see how the shadow is always following him and sometimes is ahead of him. The funniest thing about him is the way he likes to grow. Not at all like proper children, which is always very slow. For he sometimes shoots up taller like an India rubber ball, and sometimes gets so little that there's none of him at all. In the second stanza, we can see the child is amused and little confused with his shadow. He considers his shadow to be another child, but he finds him so different from other children. This is so because it grows differently. It grows faster than the normal children who grow slowly over the years. He is again thrilled to see how it grows bigger all of a sudden without his knowledge, and sometimes it is so small that it cannot be seen at all. It surprises him to see shadow grow big and small every day. So in this stanza we can see there is a shift in the mood. From that excitement, now there is surprise, there is intrigue. So we can see the mood has changed. Another very important aspect of this poem is how the shadow grows and disappears. This is what intrigues the child in the poem, children. How the shadow grows. Suddenly it can become so tall, and suddenly it is very small, and then suddenly there is none of him at all. During sunrise and the sunset, shadows will be longest. During the noon time, shadow is the shortest. When there is no light, there is no shadow. One morning, very early, before the sun, I was up. I rose and found the shining dew on every buttercup. But my lazy little shadow, like an errant sleepy head, had stayed at home behind me and was fast asleep in bed. In the third stanza, the poet says, one morning the boy wakes up before the sunrise. The sun was still in horizon, and there was not much light around him, and he could not see his shadow. The boy is all excited because he is going in the nature for a walk. He gets to see the beautiful things of nature, like dewdrops on the beautiful buttercups. The shadow was not following him. Perhaps it was lazy and was still sleeping, while he here was enjoying the beauty of nature. Now let's discuss the rhyming scheme of the poem My Shadow. Children, we can see that line 1 and 2 rhyme, line 3 and 4 rhyme, line 5 and 6 rhyme, line 7 and 8 rhyme, line 9 and 10 rhyme. Similarly, line 11 and 12 rhyme. If we label line 1 and 2 as AA and line 3 and 4 as BB, then our rhyming scheme here becomes AABB. Similarly, in our second stanza, if we label line 5 and 6 as CC, and 7 and 8 as DD, our rhyming scheme becomes CCDD. Similarly, for the third stanza, our rhyming scheme is going to be EEFF. With this, we conclude our session on the poem by Shadow. Thank you. Have a nice day.